looking for a fabulous card, maybe for the kids or the grandkids, and you don't have any stamp sets that really work for kids? Well, guess what? I have got a great solution. We're going to make some sweet treats simply by using the Unbound Love Dies. Hello everyone, welcome to another Tuesday tip video. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com, and I know you are going to be so tickled by today's project, how we're going to take those simple dies and create some really sweet treats. So let's head over to my stamping table and get started. I was just a little giddy when I created these cards. I was just so tickled how I was able to create some great cards for kids, and I could just use my Unbound Love Dies. Now, these are very simple. I've got some great techniques to teach you, so let's get started. I love cotton candy, so this is going to be my first card. Let's go. Before I go over all the supplies, I just want you to know there is a free download that goes along with today's video. So you're going to have the photos, the measurements, complete supply list. Yes, you can link back and watch this video again if you need to. Friends, you're going to find this at SimplySimpleStamping.com or look down in the YouTube description for the direct link. My card base is going to be in Bubble Bath, and that is a classic 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. I have two pieces of Pretty in Pink, a brand new color from Stampin' Up. This piece here is a 2 1/4 by 3. This one here is a 4 by 5 1/4. And then the last thing we're going to need are a couple pieces of basic white. So for these, I've got one. This is a 2 by 5.5. This one here, 3 3/4 by 5. Both cards will feature the Hooray for Surprises stamp set. I just loved this. Hope your birthday is wonderful and sending you lots of love. It was just perfect for this card. So we'll be using that. And then like I said at the beginning of the video, it's the Unbound Love Dies that are going to create these fantastic sweet treats. So this is a die set that you're going to be able to use for so many things. You see, it's just full of fantastic labels. But yes, we're going to convert them into something a little bit different today. So for my first card, I'm going to use, this is kind of the more stitched label. There's two of them, so I'm going to use the more stitched one. I've got this great scallop, that's for my cotton candy. And believe it or not, this little label here, that's what's going to create the cone that'll hold my cotton candy. So let's die cut that scallop from our Pretty in Pink. And then from this piece, we're going to die cut our label for our sentiment. And then again, I've got a little technique to teach you how we're going to turn that into a cone. So to die cut these pieces, you're going to need base plate 1, thin die adapter 2, and a cutting plate 3. We'll add our cardstock, and now we will top it with another cutting plate 3, and we'll run this through our die cutting machine. Well, now that we have those cut, I'm actually going to start with the cotton candy paper cone. And that's what we're going to do with this die here. I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. And friends, you're going to love how simple this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of center it up in the track of my paper trimmer. Perfection is not the name of the game, so don't stress. You don't need to make a tick mark or anything. Just basically find the center. And I'm just going to rotate that little label until I get to that corner. When I say perfection is not an issue, I really mean it, because the top of this cone will not be seen. I want to hold on tight to that cardstock so it doesn't shift, and I'm going to trim that off of there. All right. Now we're going to repeat that. So see this little point here? Leave that in the track, and we'll rotate this so that we trim off this other section. And you know, when it comes to cotton candy, it's a very narrow cone. So that's why this label was perfect for it. Well, if it's going to be cotton candy, it needs some texture. And you know what? This So Swirly die from Stampin' or embossing folder, forgive me. This embossing folder is perfect. So I'm going to find a spot. You know, you can just kind of play around and find what you think is going to make the absolute best look of cotton candy. That one right there looks good. Now for the cone, it has to be straight up and down because, you know, they kind of twist those cotton candy cones. So I'm going to focus maybe here or here, any part that's just kind of a little more straight. All right. We don't want big swirls in it. So I think that's going to work for me. Let's go through what we need to emboss this. We're going to need base plate 1. We're going to need 2 cutting plates. So we're going to put 1 cutting plate down, our embossing folder right there in the middle, and another cutting plate. No plate 2, all right? So that's only for thin dies. This is an embossing folder. When you run this through, you want the fold of the embossing folder to be what goes through the machine, all right? So let's run this through, and we have our cotton candy and our cotton candy cone. We're going to add a little glue right there, and look at this. We're going to top that with our cotton candy. Isn't it adorable? Okay, I'm going to set this aside so we can do our stamping, and that's where we're going to need that larger piece of basic white and our little label. I'm going to bring in a Melon Mambo ink pad. I'll also be using Pretty in Pink, but we're going to start with our Melon Mambo. And in our little label, let's stamp, "Hope your birthday is wonderful." And now for the inside of our card, "Sending you lots of love," which is great for a birthday sentiment. And now we'll bring in some Pretty in Pink. And let's add, there's a little tiny heart in this stamp set that I just love because it just adds just the right touch. All right, now let's do some stamping on the outside of our card. And this is where our blending brushes are going to come into play. I'm just going to very lightly ink this up. And I'm going to bring in my original so you can see. We just need kind of a big oval of some Melon Mambo ink there on the left side of the card. Now, I'm going to kind of start here in the middle, just in case I kind of get a darker blob. It's going to be hidden, but I'm just going to very lightly kind of create a nice little oval. Now, I'm going to stop for just a second. I'm going to bring in my cotton candy. Yep, I need a lot more ink, right? Not a problem. That just kind of gave me the visual to get started. And I need to make that a little bit bigger. By the way, instead of adding more ink, I'm just using a little more pressure now. So I'm pulling a little more ink off of the blending brush. Let's test that again. Oh, that's looking good, right? Okay, well, now that we've got our blending done, we're going to come in. There's a really sweet little flower in this stamp set as well. And I'm just going to randomly stamp all over my card. I don't need to worry too much about this area. I mean, if I hit it, that's fine, not a problem. But I do know that most of that's going to be covered. I'm going to go ahead and add my inside sentiment there to my Pretty in Pink layer. We're going to add that to the inside of our card. And I got to tell you, what I love here is we've got the bubble bath, we've got the Pretty in Pink, and we've got the Melon Mambo. And all those colors, they just kind of remind me of cotton candy. All right, let's take our fabulous little cotton candy and some Stampin' Dimensionals. So the first dimensional I'm going to add is right there, just to give my cone just a little added protection. All right, I want to make sure it stays put. Let's add a few here, and we'll get one down here as far as we can go. I could also bring in a mini Stampin' Dimensional if I wanted to. And we're going to add that to the front of our card. Now, remember that sentiment that we created. Hope your birthday is wonderful. I've got dimensionals on the back of that as well. And now this absolutely beautiful Pretty in Pink ribbon. This is a really great textured ribbon. I'm going to make myself just a simple little knot. Sometimes that's all I need. And I'm going to use a mini glue dot to add that to the top of my cute little sentiment. But there's more. You guys know I always like to add a little something. Well, we are going to have a little fun with the pearlized enamel of basics, all right? This is the white. Now, I'm going to take, here's one of my little scraps. That's perfect for this because I want to just kind of get the product flowing here. And you're simply going to squeeze just a little dot, just a sweet little dot of this white pearlized enamel basics here. That's why I wanted to go ahead and get my bow on, or my ribbon. I wanted to go ahead and get that on first. It's just kind of nice to have everything done before we add this. Now this is going to need some drying time, my friends, all right? It's going to stay a little wet.
we're going to let these set. I'm going to put it somewhere safe. You know, we don't want the kids, we don't want the dog to get it, nothing, all right? But let me show you that is our sweet, very sweet card. All right, are you ready to move on to our ice cream cone?
When you're ready to recreate these projects, you're going to want your free download because this will have everything that you need so you can recreate the cards. You'll find my free download at simplysimplestamping.com, or if you look down in the YouTube description, I have a direct link to today's post.
And I thought I'd do this in some blues so that we'd have a good card for the guys. So how about this one? Again, we're going to be using those Unbound Love Dies. All right, my card base is Afternoon Azure, and that is a 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. I've got 2 pieces of basic white. These pieces are a little bit different than our last card. This one is a 3 3/4 by 5, and then I have a 2 by 2.5. The last thing, no, I shouldn't say the last thing. I'm sorry. We've got a couple more pieces. I've got a blueberry bushel. That is a 4 by 5.25. And then for our ice cream cone, we've got another 2 by 2.5 in pecan pie. And then these 3 pieces, these are all 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, early espresso, very vanilla, and pretty in pink. So obviously we've got our chocolate, our vanilla, and our strawberry. All right, for this card, we're going to switch things up a little bit. We are going to use this die here. So remember the one we used for our label on our first card, the one that had the stitched? Well, we actually, we are going to use that one. We're going to get ourselves another basic white. All right, so that's the stitched one. Next, we're going to take this one. All right, this is just more of a straight edge. And we're going to take that from our pecan pie. And then the larger circle. You do see we have 2 size circles. We're going to use the larger one. And friends, we are simply going to die cut the circle from those 3 pieces. Base plate 1, thin die adapter 2, cutting plate 3. Now we can put all of our pieces here on that first plate. We'll come back to these because we've just got that one circle. I'm going to top it with plate 3. Let's run this through. All right. Everything is die cut. So we're going to start with our ice cream cone. And friends, it really is just like we did before. We're going to eyeball the center of this. And look at this die. It's just got a perfect little spot. Kind of tells you exactly where you need to go. Remember, the top of this also will not show, because you can see our ice cream is going to cover it. So no stress, no stress. Just like before, we're now going to rotate it, find the corner here and that spot right there. And you might be wondering, like, why didn't you just cut it? It's very difficult to cut a triangle this shape. So the dies really made it nice and easy. Now for this card, I'm actually going to be using 2 embossing folders. This is another brand new one. It's called Dotted Circles, and it was a really fun one to work with, worked really well with this little ice cream. And then for my ice cream cone, I'm going to use the cane embossing folder. Now, if you have the Basics 3D embossing folders that we've had, those work really well for this as well. And for this one, I got to tell you, I just found that if I just kind of laid my 3 pieces right along there, I can kind of see through the embossing folder, and that worked well for me. So I know I'm good to go there. My ice cream cone, of course, I thought this cane embossing folder gave really great texture. Now I got to tell you, these 2 folders have a different die cutting sandwich because these are 3D. These are a little bit thicker. So the sandwich for these, base plate 1, then your folder, and then embossing plate 4. All right, let's start to build our ice cream cone. So I'm going to put my strawberry ice cream here on the bottom, a little vanilla on top, and everyone's favorite, we'll add the chocolate right here. All right, I'm going to set that aside to dry. Let's do some stamping. For this card, we're going to use our blueberry bushel and Afternoon Azure. I'll start with the blueberry bushel, and I've cleaned those stamps because remember, a second ago we used them in our melon mambo, so we want to make sure those are clean. For the inside of our card, sending you lots of love. For the front of our card, hope your birthday is wonderful. And now in the afternoon azure, just like we did on our other card, we'll add a few hearts. All right, now we're going to do some blending brush work again, and this time we're going to use the blueberry bushel. Now, just like we did before, where we added that big oval, you see this one is a lot larger. So this oval is more narrow and it's going to go all up and down the card. So I'm just going to lightly ink it up just like before. Yep, it might be a little strong at first, but we're going to hide that. And you can see I want to really add plenty all the way up and down my card. That is going to work for me. I realize I have a little bit of a blob there, but you know what? We're going to cover it, so I'm not at all worried about it. Okay, so the last card I shared with you, we had that sweet little flower. Well, I didn't think the young men would like that. So my other favorite technique is a pencil eraser. This is a brand new pencil. Look, not even been sharpened or anything. And I love to use pencil erasers as polka dots. It's one of my favorite stamps because one, I adore anything with polka dots. I guess that explains why I loved that embossing folder so much with the circles. We're going to add some polka dots. I'm going to definitely hit. I want to kind of come in and make sure I'm getting where I've got that blending brush in the blueberry bushel, because my ice cream cone is a little bit narrower. It's not quite as big and bold as my cotton candy. So I want to make sure I've got enough polka dots. What do you think? Nope, I need one more right there. I'm going to go ahead and take the inside of my card, the area for my message. Do you love the afternoon azure and that blueberry bushel behind it? Looks really nice. Now we're going to bring in our ice cream and our sentiment. And just like before, I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to kind of spread those out a little bit. But I want to kind of use those and to make sure everything's going to stay adhered. All right, let's put our card together. By the way, I do have dimensionals there on my sentiment as well. We'll add that to the front of our card and our sentiment to the front of our card. Now for this one, let's use a little different ribbon. This is the Night of Navy Glittered. So yep, we're going to bring in another blue, but I want you to see how it looks up against that blueberry bushel. It's perfect, right? And it adds a little sparkle, which I thought went really well with my polka dots there. So whether you need a little yummy cotton candy for the girls or some delicious ice cream for the boys, you can create those with your Unbound Love Dies. Yep, you're going to have so many uses for these dies, but isn't it great to know that you have something really unique that you can create?
Thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope that you were inspired by those two cards. If you were, give me a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, why not subscribe? Just click that button. Let YouTube know you want to learn more about Simply Simple Stamping. They'll let you know whenever I'm back with another video. Make it a great day, everyone. Can't wait to stamp with you next time. Bye-bye.